Okay, there. Hello. Hi, everybody who's here. This is Sharon Gurung. She's an old friend of mine, and she's a speaker with us at Kuhiro class. She has two bachelor degrees, a BA in political science from Agnes Scott College, and a second degree, a BS, a bachelor in science in environmental engineering from Georgia Tech University. She's currently working as a consultant. Um, and she does a bunch of work like kind of like advise companies on political scenarios, what they should do while entering certain markets perhaps. She advises companies on how to reduce their carbon footprints, and a bunch of these like political and environmental scenarios that she kind of comes in and gives advice on. I think she'll be better at explaining this than I will. Yeah, so just I think Sharon, you can go ahead with your presentation. And thanks for everybody who's here. I know it's hard on New Year's Eve time, but thanks for joining us anyway. Sharon, over to
Yeah,
you. I hope yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, let me share my screen first. Okay, can you see it? I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, now I
Oh,
can.
okay. Can you see the page?
Yep. Yeah, it's
It
really
looks
pretty. Yeah.
yeah, it looks very pink because I was trying to bring in the Kuhiro colors, but
Uh,
um, okay. So Ayush already started by introducing me, but just to give you a little background again. So my name is Sharon, and I did my A levels from Rathabangla. I graduated in 2016 from Rathabangla, and then I went to Agnes Cotton Georgia Tech. So, in terms of what I studied in A levels, I did physics, chem, math, bio, and general paper. And then in undergraduate, like Ayush said, I did environmental engineering and political science. So for me, the reason I did dual degree was so. Before I get into the reason, so Agnes Scott has this program with Georgia Tech where we can basically do a liberal arts major and also an engineering major, and we do like 3-2 or 2-2 in terms of years in both institutions. So I did 3-2, and then I did a 5 years program with both colleges. And both of them are in Georgia. Agnes Scott is very close to Atlanta, Georgia, and Georgia Tech is in Atlanta, Georgia itself. And I graduated with my dual degree in 2021. And the reason I did dual degree was I'm very passionate about political science and I really love the subject, but I also really enjoyed environmental engineering. And I knew that I really wanted to do engineering for like multiple reasons. So I thought, why not just do both? And it was perfect that Agnes Scott had a dual degree program as well. And Agnes Scott is an all women college. So given the audience today in our call, I don't know if that's uh, if you'd want to know more about that. But Georgia Tech, it's co-ed college and it's majority engineering schools. Any questions on those? Ayush, you can still hear me, right?
yeah, this is fine. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
Good, yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then so that's on my education background. And then moving on to what I do currently. So I'm a consultant. So my exact title is called Delivery Assurance Analyst. So it's a little bit of a mixture between consulting and program project management. Um, and before that, in terms of the path, in terms of my path to consulting, I did a lot of internships. Most of my internships were in Nepal itself. And I know there's this whole idea that if you want to get a good job in America, you have to do a lot of internships in America, which is true. It does make your life a little easier. But for me, that wasn't the case. I did majority of my internships in Nepal. If you just look at this page as well, I think like it's all of them are in Nepal actually. So Forum for Women Law and Development, Action Works Nepal, Wind Power Nepal, all three of them were in Nepal. I had one internship in America as well. I haven't put it in here because it was a small startup um, that I worked with. And then, other than that, in terms of work experience, I also did research at Georgia Tech. So I did a lot of hydrology research. Um, and then after graduation, I ended up in consulting. Um, any questions? Any questions on internship or anything so far? Or I can move on into what is consulting and what I do.
Wait, did you do these internships after your bachelor's or before you
No,
went to
I
the
did.
US?
No, these ones I did it during my bachelor. So every summer I would go back to Nepal because I liked
Mm,
being in Nepal more than I liked being in the US. I went back to
mm-hmm,
Nepal and then did these internships. So actually, Forum for Women Law and Development. This one I did when I was in Rata Bangla still. So it's a pretty old internship. But Action Works Nepal. This was actually a research I did in Jumla. So I was in Jumla for a month and I did research on Chaupadi, like political implications, legal implications, and stuff. And for that one, it was actually that research was actually funded by my college. So Agnes Scott had a fellowship. I did that, and I got the funding to do research in Joomla, and I worked with ActionWorks Nepal on that one. Wind Power Nepal was 2020. I was home for because of COVID, so I decided if I'm already here, I might as well do an internship here because I don't think I'll be going back to America anytime soon, given the scenario, like given the current.
mm-hmm.
So I did my internship in Nepal in 2020 summer. Check if there are fellowships and research like funding in colleges that you can do like outside of your regular like academic research as well. Because for me, the fellowship I got, it was called Hubert Scholars, and they basically fund both like international and American students. I think majority of the people who've gotten it at Agnes Scott are international students, and they basically fund your research for the summer. And like it's a flat rate. You get a certain amount, and then you can use it as you seem fit for your research.
That's
Um,
really cool. Did you write a paper at the end of this, or was it like what kind of like conclusion, or did you have a hypothesis and you went to Joomla and you tried to prove it?
yeah.
How
So
did it?
for me, yeah. So for me, so Hubert Scholars is specific to Agnes Scott College students. So basically, after I did my research in the summer, I had to work with a professor my following semester, so one on one, and I did like a guided research paper with her. So she mentored
Mm,
me throughout my research as well. So during the summer, every week I'd send her notes on what I was working on, and then during the semester I wrote a paper. And I didn't really have a hypothesis for this one because when I first went in, I had a very set mindset on. Um, so I thought I knew why people still followed Thaupadi, or like what the solution might be, and I think that was wrong of me to like assume things before I went in. And once I went to Zoomla and then talked to people, my perspective sort of changed. Not sort of, my perspective changed a lot. I had to strategize what I was going to do there. So I
mhm,
didn't really have a hypothesis. So mostly I just looked at why people still follow this, right? So I looked at other research papers, which talks about why a lot of people, or like why a lot of women still don't like speak up against different types of violence, whether it be domestic abuse, whether it be sexual abuse and all, like why people don't speak up about it. And a lot of the times it's because people don't even know that they're being oppressed, or uh, they're being harassed, right? Because um, they don't have that idea. I'm trying to think. They don't have that concept in their society. Like they don't know what domestic violence is. They don't know what sexual abuse is.
mm.
Um,
It's
yeah,
like looking. It's like being in a fishbowl. Like you don't know the world is.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
That's
exactly. Um, yeah.
cool.
So that's in my research, and that's, I think that was like one of the things what that helped me during my job search as well in the US, because it provided this like different outlook into things. um, and then after that, moving on to my consulting part. um, so currently I'm called delivery assurance analyst, and I work for a consulting firm. It's a global management consulting firm. We work with different businesses, different industries, from like government entities to pharmaceuticals to, I'm trying to think of like different industries, oil and gas, energy, hospitality. It ranges. It could be anything. Um, my current client, I work with a consumer packaged goods. Consumer packaged good could be any food or retail item that you get like stores. So my current client is consumer packaged good client. So it could be anything. Today I'm doing this. I really want to work with sustainable fashion companies. So it varies depending on what is available or what clients are available and are open to staffing me. Um, so moving on to what I do as an analyst right now. So I'm an entry level analyst. I started in April 2022. So this year I've only been there 8 months, 9 months now. Um, and it's been pretty interesting and intense in terms of learning, and also in terms of the day-to-day work. So in terms of consulting, every project is different. I would say every day is different depending on what we're solving for. We always have this broader problem that we're trying to solve. Um, and these problems can range from, it could be that a company is trying to launch a new product and they want to know how to launch it, right? They want to know what are the different things um, they need to consider before they launch a new product. Or it could be that they want to re-strategize or like rethink their pricing strategies. It could be they just want to restructure their organization. It could be COVID rollout plans. It could be anything. So uh, the problems are very varied depending on what industry, what client, and even inside the firm I work for, we have different units. So I mostly work with implementation projects. So there's strategy side and then there's implementation side. Majority of the bigger consulting firms, they have big like strategy units. So even my firm, they have a big strategy unit, and basically strategy team, they come up with diagnostic of the problem and then coming up with different solutions, like what could be done or like what needs to be done. And then the implementation side, I think it's in the name itself, we help them implement all these solutions and all these strategies. I know it's pretty vague. Um,
Well, that's pretty cool.
so
Say you're working at a packaging, like for a packaging project right now, correct? Like, so consumer packaged goods, like things like chips. Is that
yeah,
right? Yeah. And
yeah,
so like,
things like
so
that.
if
Yeah.
a company comes to you, like Ayush Chips comes to you and says, "Hey,
Mhm.
uh, please help me with, could you make it more eco-friendly?" Is that what they ask you, or do they say, like, can you make it more consumer friendly? Can you make it like look pretty? What
It
do
could
they
be
say?
all of that, or it could be one of
Oh,
those. It could be anything, right? So,
okay.
I mean, they don't, they, so I am not involved in that level yet because I'm just an analyst and I'm entry level. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, the problems could be anything. The question can be anything. It could be as vague as, we don't know, help us think what we need to do in the next 10 years. Or like
Mm.
it could range from that like broad question to, yes, like we need to think about why this like particular product isn't selling well. Or it could be, yes, we need to reduce our carbon footprint and what are the things we can do, or like what should our roadmap be forward. Does that
Hmm.
help?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's different at different times. Guys, the rest of you
Yeah,
also ask
yeah.
questions. Yes, I'm sure guys are thinking something. Yeah, yeah, Sirish, go ahead.
Uh, Hello, everyone. Hello, Sharon and Ayush. So, my question is pretty simple. It is quite clear that we don't actually end up doing what we study. Uh, uh, is that because there is a much of fuss about like I should study this subject so that I need to build career in that particular vertical and things like that. So, Saran, what are your thoughts on that?
I I I couldn't hear you for a little bit in the beginning, but I'm assuming your question is what are the subjects we should study to get into consulting? Is that the question?
Not exactly like I meant like the subjects we choose during A levels or like afterwards also uh, we don't actually my experience and a lot of my friends experience is that like we don't actually end up doing what we exactly study uh, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
during our college time we have such a fuss about that like we think a lot like if I study this then I will do this and this so those kind of thing what are your thoughts on that like
yeah. No, that is very interesting because I don't think I'm doing what I studied. Like, I'm not doing poli-sci or like policy related, government related stuff, or I'm not doing exactly like engineering right now. I think like I'm doing something completely different than what I studied. Still, I use a lot of what I studied in engineering and poli-sci still. But I think honestly, like you said, like you don't always end up doing what you studied, and I think that's okay. And even in A levels, I studied pure science because until until my first like month in A2, I was like, yeah, I want to do engineering, right? And then all of a sudden, when I reached A2, I was like, oh no, I think I want to do poli sci. So then I started applying to liberal arts colleges and to like colleges in the UK, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna study political science. And then I came into college, I did my first year, and then I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoy STEM. So I really want to do engineering again. And I was lucky enough that I had both engineering and liberal arts degree options to do, and I could do both instead of having to choose one. But I think it's okay. And especially if you're applying to the US and if you're applying, or like if you're applying to liberal arts school, I don't think it matters as much. I know Ayush, you also went to a liberal arts school. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if
So
you
like
agree with me. I don't. Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I studied history, and my first job was in finance. So I studied 4 years of history, and somehow like these financial like due diligence people thought that I would be the right person to look over
Mm,
like things like accounts, like look over like like yearly annual reports, things like that. Because in history, you're trained to kind of like like make sure that you don't miss out on details, you don't miss out on like you can analyze stuff, you can make sure you can deduce think some reasoning. And so for those reasons, like I passed the tests that were meant for like a finance job in due diligence. Right? So yeah, so it doesn't
yeah.
matter at all. I know like people who studied electrical engineering in Delhi University, and they're doing consulting with like big four companies like in India, right? So I don't, yeah, it absolutely just does not matter
Yeah.
at all.
I,
Yeah.
I think I think the only time it matters is if you want to study medicine or like engineering. Like if you're trying to study something or do something very specific, you know that your goal is to become a civil engineer, then I would say start taking physics, chem, math, bio in A levels, and then like get into STEM subjects again in college. Um, but that is like those are like very specific industries, right? But I think like, and I might sound very stereotypical, like any Nepali parent, but and I mean I'm just 24, I'm not a parent, but in terms of like Nepali parent thinking, like they think a lot about how like science opens up doors for you, and that one does stand true in terms of the career options you will have if you study STEM subjects. Because I think for me, if I had just studied political science, like yes, I could have gotten into consulting, but I don't think if I studied political science, I'd get a job as an engineer if I wanted to do that, right? But because I have engineering, I think I can do, like, my doors are opened more in terms of what I can do.
Yeah, yeah, I think
And
fair enough. Science does, like, it allows you to do anything. You could study science and then go into history, but if you do history, like right now, I
yeah,
probably couldn't become an aerospace engineer if I wanted to, or I would have to work really hard and
exactly.
get into bachelor's again and then do that stuff again. So probably science would be a safer bet if you wanna, if you're not really sure about science or not science. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Is there a
yeah.
question on the chat? What challenges do you face when you study subject A and end
Let
up
me check.
in the job for subject B?
Um, so for me, so consulting, so I only have experience with consulting, right? And with consulting, it's very diverse in terms of the people that they hire. So I have colleagues who studied finance. I have colleagues who studied business, and a lot of the people who are in consulting are like business majors or industrial engineers. Um, and I have colleagues who've studied history, like Ayush said. And with consulting, because our clients are so varied and our, like, the problems that they come with to us are like very different, it doesn't really matter what you studied, unless like you're looking into hard skills, like no, you need to like do a data modeling, or you need to like code something. Then I think, like, at that point, like, a lot of times engineers already have those hard skills because of like what they studied in school. But in terms of the day to day, I work with a team of like very different people coming from very different backgrounds, and I don't really see the difference between like the work we do. Like, the quality is the same still. So with consulting, I think consulting is that exception though. But um I think I would need like an example of the industry and like the subject. I mean, if you're going into engineering from history, that would be an obvious like challenge. Like, you don't know what to do as an like as a history person in engineering. Um, but yeah, consulting is that one exception where like you can come in from any background and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, like data science is something that, like, is there one thing that like a lot of different subjects can go into? I don't know. It
Yeah,
just turns out, like, I know a friend who did pol science in, like, for 4 years in my university, then did a 6 month like a course on data science, and then now he has a data science job, where he kind of, like, works with like companies like PNG and such, and then like, say for example, PNG wants to find out key what is the type of ad that is working on the Indian community in US. So he will look at a bunch of data, like, like purchasing data, like, oh my god, yeah, so like in like this community really likes packaging that looks like this, or like ads that are this long or this short, or have this content. And then he'll look at that data and he'll give a report to PNG. um, so, and he's a pol science major who did data science as a course later on. So
yeah,
yeah, I guess it really doesn't matter
yeah. And
unless, yeah.
that reminds
Mm,
me of my friend. So my best friend, my roommate in college, she studied psychology in college, and now
mm.
she's a game designer for Minecraft. So
Oh
it
wow.
like
Oh,
she
that's
does
really
UX UI design for Minecraft. So it's like, it doesn't really, I don't think it matters as much as long as you have the passion and the skills.
cool.
Of course, like if you don't have the skills, then like you are going to find it challenging. But as long as you have the drive to learn that skill, I think you'll be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, exactly. That reminds me of my friend. He he has a PhD in economics and now he's in jail. So, you know,
Nice,
you never,
Ayush. Yeah, you could go any path.
you can go anywhere. Okay, yeah, Sharon, go on.
Any other question? Yeah.
Okay, I would also like to ask, like, you mentioned about doing internships early in your career in your life, let's say. So like how did you like how did you got to do the internship?
So I'm very shameless when it comes to networking. I like email, or I'll cold email and I'll message people directly on LinkedIn. So even my last internship as an engineer in Nepal, though I got it by messaging the CEO on LinkedIn directly. Um, I think that's like for international students, I think that it could go either way, but it worked out for me and I'm glad. But I think in the US, like depending on what field you're looking into, it is very challenging to get an internship or a job as an international student. Um, and that's another thing, right? That's another reason why I wanted to do engineering, because as a STEM major, you have greater flexibility into where you can apply, what you can do, and also in terms of your work visa later on. Um, but
Uh,
internship,
I
like for
I meant for early on, like you said,
yeah, yeah,
after exams or like early on, not the latter, like when you were in US and all, like in Nepal, and early on, like immediately after A levels or during A levels, like because that is some kind of challenge. I think our other friends might be
yeah.
interested to hear about.
Even that one, it was cold emailing. So I would make a list of organizations or companies that I'm interested in, and it depends from company to company, right? A lot of organizations I worked with were nonprofit and like smaller organizations, and usually they won't say no to like volunteers or interns. I think I mean it all depends on their vacancy as well, but um I think like you can just cold emailing works out, like even early on and later on in your like timeline. um I'm trying to think, like I did all my internships in Nepal, so other than cold emailing, I haven't really seen like vacancy announcements for internships in that level, like. But cold emailing helps. I don't know if that helps you, like I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Because I remember like even the Action Works about the internship I got, I basically made a list of organizations. I emailed each of them and I heard back from Action Works Nepal. So and that worked out. Um,
Yeah, I think Kuhiro is one of the few organizations that puts out internship, high school
exactly.
internships. Please come. And so we got like what
Yeah.
51 applications to be interns, which is lower than our product. Like, it's a lot of people want internships in Nepal, and just like
Yeah.
companies are like willing to teach, or like maybe they're just not like, they're not into it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. But I think like given I think like in our like and it's like in our time, it feels like such an old like time, but I think like right now compared to where we were back then, like right now the access to information and access to people and networking is so much
Mhm.
easier and so much better than what it was like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Like even if you go on LinkedIn right now, you'll find so many Nepali entrepreneurs, so many Nepali like investors and whatnot, and you can always reach out to them. So maybe like you can start your LinkedIn journey in A levels itself instead of college and reach out to those people. And
Mhm.
even if you can't get an internship, right? Maybe you can get a mentor out of it. You never know.
yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. Hey, Sharon, I was wondering, so do you remember your A level time? Like, is there something that you would have done differently in your A levels? I think we're obliged to ask. Um,
Yeah.
is there?
Yes, there are a few things. So the first one is I wish I had taken it more seriously. I think I was doing a lot of things, right, in terms of like extracurricular activities and all, which for me it worked out because that gave me a stronger resume or like stronger background in terms of like the different things I did. But in
Mhm.
terms of my academics, I wish I had taken it more seriously than like than what I did. Because I think like, and I know a lot of us, And now again, I'm gonna start talking like some like stereotypical Nepali parent again. And a lot of us think that like grades don't matter, or like college name doesn't matter, like when you go into colleges in the US. But on the contrary, like when you're later on down the line, when you're like applying for jobs, I think it matters a lot, especially like if you're trying to apply to like high paying jobs outside of tech. I think like a lot of these companies have like target schools in mind, right? Like they have all these like schools that they hire from in general, or like there are colleges that I don't know. I don't know if I'm making sense like with this one, but I think I wish I would have taken my academics more seriously in A levels itself, like instead of going into college and then taking it seriously. I think
Mm.
I could have done much better in A levels. But at the same time, I wish I hadn't like beaten myself down. Like I wish I hadn't stressed so much, like thinking about what everyone else was doing. And I think it's so easy, right, in A levels, because like in A2, when like everyone starts getting their acceptance for college, like everyone starts getting so stressed because you start comparing yourself to other people, not knowing like what exactly is going to like work for you. Um, and I think I did that a lot as well. Like I would look at other people and I would compare myself, and I think I'd spent more time comparing myself to other people and trying to think like what I can do to be better than them, instead of thinking like what I could do to better myself. And yeah, I regret that.
Mm. Yeah, we get that a lot. Even Sudarshan, our last speaker, has said the exact same thing. He just said he wished he had taken it more seriously.
Yeah,
I look back and I think, oh shit, I should have taken it more seriously too. Because yeah, when you're applying, it just show like when your grades do kind of like show. Like, at one point, I was so like, and it's also important not to get too overconfident. Like I was so confident in sociology. Like one internal exam, I was like, let's just not, let's just not give this
yeah,
exam. So I went in, I chilled out, I laughed around in the exam hall, and then I walked out and I got like a 30 out of 100 or something. But then yeah,
yeah,
because I was so overconfident in a certain subject. Because it's like sometimes you at that point you're like, so yeah, I got this, it's so
yeah,
chill, it's whatever. Yeah, but then it's
yeah.
not whatever, it goes up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another good thing about taking like academics seriously in A levels itself and working on grades is that you can transfer those credits into your US colleges. So I transfer like my math, math, physics, math and physics grades, I think, like math and physics credits into college. So I didn't really do like and then in the US, the math people, you know how on social media you see those questions where like people go around and ask like geography or like math questions to random Americans and they get it wrong. It is true, like the math in US colleges, like the entry level math they teach in college, that's something that we've already done in school, in like not even 11 and 12, but like a lot of times in like 10th grade itself, or like before that. And I think like the especially with A levels, the pure math we do, which is like calculus here, it helps a lot, because I didn't do calc 1 either in college. So I started from calc, I can't remember if I started from calc 2 or calc 3, but basically I could skip a lot of classes because I could get credits from my A level classes.
Oh
So
damn,
that's
I
another
didn't
pro.
know. Yeah, I didn't know that. I wish I'd gone to the US
Mhm.
then I wouldn't have to do so many classes. I had to
Yeah,
do all
even
of
for
them.
English, yeah,
Huh?
even for English, I think I didn't take the first two English like basic classes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Shit.
it
I
it,
missed.
it does work.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it there are a lot of pros of getting good grades other than having just good grades. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. Hmm. So, we also wanted to ask. So, what do you think? Like, so Sudarshan was saying that in the US, when you start studying something, they start with real fundamentals of something. Like when you go
Yeah.
into like let's say mathematics in the US in college, they're not going to start from like you said, like they start off damn basic and then they make it complex as you go. Is that different than what you saw in Nepal in your like before 11th also, or um what is the difference
Um,
between education and a Nepali education or a Indian education? Is that the main difference you see?
I think for us, like at least until 10th, we're very focused on memorizing things, right? Like whether it be math. Like I remember like for my SLC, I'd like memorized all those like trigonometry, like solutions and whatnot. I think there's like a lot of memorization that goes into like Nepali and like Indian education system. And then like for A levels, I think A levels like is much closer to how like American like education system works. Because even in A levels, right, like you have the option of choosing different subjects. Like now there's the whole side of like schools in Nepal will only let you have like certain combinations. That's different than like how it is in the UK, I guess, with A levels. But you still have that option of like selecting different subjects, and then like both like AS and A2, right? Like you sort of go into the depth of it. And I think it's similar to how we study in the US as well. But granted in the US, like you study way more like different like fundamentals because there's gen ed, right? So there's in terms of gen ed, like you're taking all the different classes not even related to your major, and you're not needed to decide your major until like sophomore year. I think I decided my major my first semester itself, so not sure like I'm not sure when exactly is the like major decide or like announcement is. I think it's sophomore year or junior year. But basically, yeah, you learn a little bit of different things, and then you decide what you want to do, and then go into the depth of it. Unless you're doing engineering or med school again.
Yeah, I think in most liberal art colleges it's like that. You do a bunch of like different things: history, physics, chemistry, or all a bunch.
Yeah.
And you later on pick like what subject you wanna major in or minor in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I'm trying to remember like I did a lot of different classes too, like from like arts to they also make you do PE, so I had to take like archery and badminton classes and whatnot. So a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Frisbee we had. Did you have any trouble when you were writing your application essay? Like, what was that about? What did you write your application about?
I can't even remember. I honestly can't remember what I wrote my essay about. I remember for Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech I had to submit an application later on again. So for Georgia Tech, I wrote something about using my poli-sci knowledge in environmental engineering to understand like how like environmental engineering can help with like environmental injustice. So for Georgia Tech, I wrote that. I don't remember what I wrote before that for like my Common App. I can't remember.
That's pretty cool. Did you have a Nepal angle on the application essay or?
I did because like so this was after I did my Thaupadi research. So like when I did my Thaupadi research, I saw like what I observed was like, and I think this is like talked about a lot nowadays in social media as well, that people of color or like people from low income background, they suffer more from environmental degradation or like environmental injustice compared to like people who come from like a higher like privileged society, right? And so that helped me. That actually was the reason why I wrote that essay.
That's really interesting. Even Sirish, even Sudarshan was talking about how environment affects your economy and how the relationship between environment and your family life and your economy and how you grow up, what you're capable of doing and what you're not capable of doing. That's really interesting. Well, Arant or Sirish, do you guys have any questions, or should we close and let everyone have a good new year?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. It was nice listening to you guys.
Yeah, it was a really wonderful talk by Sharon.
Yeah.
Good
No, I
guff.
don't know. I feel like I was a little all over the place because I think I was thinking more in terms of what consulting is and what you can do later on. But I think a lot of questions are related to what you can do in A levels itself, which makes sense because it's for A level students. But honestly, I think going back to my point, if you're confused about what you want to study and you have the capacity, skills, and the drive to do it, then I would say like any STEM subject is the safe bet. Like even like 4 years down the line after you're done with college, I think like STEM is a safe bet.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Because
And any
because like
last, uh-huh.
because because the thing is, if you want to come to the US and you want to work in the US, right? As a STEM major, you'll also get 3 years instead of 1 year to work in the US. Because if you're social sciences, you only get 1 year to work in the US after you graduate. But if you're STEM, then you get 3 years.
Hmm.
So there's that as well. It's just a
Yeah.
safer option. But yeah, but nowadays some US colleges, even business is considered STEM. So you could do business as well. It all depends.
Business
It
is
all depends on what you want to do. Yeah, some business majors are STEM now. So a lot of colleges have BS in business administration. So business management, business administration, and stuff. So Georgia Tech, majority of the subjects in Georgia Tech is STEM. So business in Georgia Tech is also STEM.
okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. Who knows? Maybe I might do a
Yeah,
MS in something. Any
exactly. Yeah.
last words of wisdom for everybody? Like any finishing? Do it
I don't
when
know.
life
Like
gives you.
I no in A levels, take your academics seriously. I think like it's very easy to be rebellious when we're in high school, especially like after 10th. I don't know what happens to us Nepali kids. We get very rebellious after 10th. I don't know if that happened to Ayush, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think
it did happen in English also. My
we
teachers hated me at first. Yeah, like until I worked like hard, like my teachers hated me. Like
exactly,
in
yeah.
you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
go
so
on.
we tend to be very rebellious in 11, 12, and then we come out like we come out of our bubble, like we come to the US, we go to India, like we go to different countries to study after A levels, and then we get a reality check, I think, like a hard reality check on how it is outside. So yeah, take your academics seriously, but at the same time also spend time doing like extracurricular activities. I think that helps a lot. I did a lot of extracurriculars and that helped me.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really wonderful. Uh, seize the day.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, I think
yeah.
cool. I guess we'll end here. Sharon, I think that was really, really, really wonderful. It'll go really great with our audiences on Instagram and wherever else we post this. Um, and of course, like Arant or Sirish, if you guys have any other questions, like feel free to contact me or Sharon. Hey Sharon, like we have this little journal thing on our website. If you want to submit any old article that you wrote in your first year, second year, whatever, maybe an assignment you wrote, like you could submit something and we could put that up. Like like
Okay, I'll have to
what-
yeah, I'll have to dig through my hard drive to find them, but I can find something. I will try to find something.
yeah, yeah. No worries, take your time.
Yeah,
Cool. Then I guess we can end here. Anything else from anyone?
I think they're
Yeah,
ready to call it a day. I know it's pretty
yeah,
late to be
yeah.
joining a call like this.
I know.
Yeah,
All right. Fine then. Bye.
yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Aran.
you.